Today's lesson is on UV's textures and shaders. The objective of this lesson is not to lay you with many complex terminologies or calculations. This is an introduction. Is to help beginners understand the basic functionalities of texture application to geometry. And last of all, I will talk about shaders and then textures. I will create an additional video tutorial for UVs, as the way UVs are created can be a little time consuming. So let's take a quick look at what is a shader. So a shader is essentially a material that shows basic elements of a surface. It will have basic attributes such as specularity, transparency. It does not contain complex textures such as tree bark or even grass. So let's take a quick look at what are the common Maya shaders available. The first one is Limpid. It is a basic shader that will be applied on all created geometries. It is matte and do not reflect light, so you can think of it as clay or even sand. The next shader is Phong, a shader that reflects light, and in my opinion it is associated with plastics, but a lot of artists have argued it is a much better representation of metal. The next shader is Blend, a shader that reflects and diffuse light. I find Blend a good representation of metal, but again, other artists has found Blend to be more suitable for plastics. The next two shaders are not common shaders used in your basic or introduction shader and render, but just to give you a brief understanding. Phong E is a shader that have mixed shader attributes, or you can say it's combined attributes of Blend and Phong. And the last one is anisotropic. It is a shader that scatters light based on curves. So one of the good examples will be cities. If you take a look at what's behind a city, you'll see some strange highlights that curves around. So that is anisotropic. Now we can take a quick look at the common attributes that is shared across Limpid, Phong, and Blend, or even Phong E and anisotropic. The first one is color. The next one is transparency, ambient color, incandescence, and translucency. The last two, specularity and eccentricity, they are not found in Limpid because Limpid's shader do not reflect light. So let's go ahead and fire Maya. Okay, and we'll take a quick look at how we can apply shaders and look at their effects on our geometries. Now you can access your shaders in Window, Rendering Editors, Hypershade. Okay, so in your Hypershade, let's do a brief navigation on Hypershade. So in Hypershade, you're gonna see three default shaders: Limpid 1, Particle Cloud, and Shader Glow. Limpid 1, as I have explained, is a shader that will be applied on all created geometries, be it NURBS, sub-D, or polygons. Alright. And the next one, Particle Cloud, as its name denotes, is meant for particles, and the last a shader glow, that we can apply a shader, a glow on based on the different shaders. So let's take a quick look at navigation. So let's say if I want to look at what's in a Limpid, I can right click the Limpid and go to Graph Network. Immediately I'll see my Limpid 1 in work area. Okay, so I can use my alternate and right mouse hold to zoom in and zoom out. Likewise, I can do it in materials. Alright, I can use my alternate middle mouse to pan around. Okay, but I cannot do that in my materials tab. Okay, so let me remove my Limpid 1 because, as I've mentioned, it is a shader that will be applied on all created geometries, so I'm not going to mess around with that, and it is also advisable not to mess around with Limpid 1. So let's go to graph, clear graph. We're gonna create 3 shaders, one Limpid, okay, and double click on it to get to your attribute editor. Again, it's a good habit to name all your shaders according to your geometries or to your needs or to your materials that you want to specify. So let's just gonna use this to indicate it's for my Limpid sphere. Alright, I'm going to create 2 additional Phong, and I'm going to call it Phong sphere and a Blin sphere. Okay, the next thing that I want to do is to change the colors. So let me go ahead and click on color. Anything with the bar is to show that it's a color or in black and white. So let's see, color. Maybe an orange. Once you click on a color or specify a certain color, you can just click anywhere outside, or it will just pop back out. Okay, so that's my Blin and my Phong, maybe a red. Okay, Limpid, click on the color, click on green, and it will pop out once you leave the screen. Okay, so let's see how we can apply our materials on our objects. So there are 3 ways to assign our shaders to our geometry. First of all, you can select the geometry. Okay, right click and hold over the geometry, assign existing material, and I will be able to see my all the materials or all the shaders within the list. So let's say I want to have my Limpid sphere. There we go, green color. So the next way is select your geometry, right click on your shader, be it in your material list or in your work area. It works the same way. Right click and hold and go to Graph Network, assign material to selection. Alright, so this will allow you to change or even assign the different shaders on your objects. And the last, of course, is to middle mouse drag and drop a shader on your geometry. Alright, so that's the easiest and direct way of assigning shaders. So I am going to assign my Limpid on a 3rd and my Blin on a 2nd. So based on the 3 different shaders, we can tell immediately what they do. Okay, you can tell that the highlight on the Blin is kind of diffuse across the surface. My Limpid, it does not reflect light, so there are no highlights. And my phone, a small little highlight there. So I'm going to go to phone. In my specular shading, where I have my cosine power and specular color. Specular color is really straightforward. You can change the color of your highlights. So right now I just want to set it to white. And you have a small preview window in your attribute editor. So this will give you a quick guide or quick knowing as to how much your power of your specular is affecting your material or affecting your objects. So cosine power is to check on the concentration of your specularity. Okay, so the higher it goes, the tinier it is. Alright. So the next one is my blend. Alright, my blend sphere. Okay, I will have specular color here as well. Alright. It works the same way as my phone. There are two other attributes that works differently. Alright, the first one is your eccentricity. Okay. Basically it is to increase the highlights or the radius of your highlights in your shader, okay, or on your objects in this case. Right. And you have your specular roll off, which is also to increase the highlights or the strength of a highlight in of your blend shader. Okay, so I hope that will give you some kind of quick understanding of how shader works. And the last of all is your Limpid. And Limpid, as I have mentioned before, it does not reflect light, so there's really no additional attributes controlling specularity on the shader. Okay, so the next thing that we are going to look at is textures, because looking at the phone, blend, and Limpid, we will know what it is and how it affects our geometries and the look and feel of it. And a lot of times we will do something much more complex than blend, phone, or even Limpid. We, as game artists, we would always want to use textures to make complex textures such as tree bark or grass or some other much more complex visuals that we cannot possibly create as geometry. So let's take a quick look at what is a texture. Okay, so textures are more commonly created as a 2D image. There are shader writers or programmers that code 2D and 3D textures in let's say a film or a broadcast pipeline in production work. But since we are again game artists, we paint our textures, or when we take photographs and fine-tune it and add additional details such as maybe cracks or even decals on the textures. And it is also a good habit for beginners to create their textures in the power of 2. So let's say when you create an image, you want to create in the resolution pixels of 16 by 16, 32 by 32, 64 by 64, 128 by 128, or 256 by 256, so on and so forth. Although all 3D software allow different resolutions, it is very important to understand that a lot of these game engines out there do not accept awkward resolutions other than powers in the values of power of 2. So do take note. There are game engines that will take awkward resolutions, but again, not all of them accepts. So some common image formats for game development. Tugger, it is an uncompressed format that retains the best image quality. One of the really old formats that most of the software reads. Tugger has been long regarded as an image solely used for screen purposes. The file size is according to pixel resolution and number of bits saved. The next image format is Tiff. It is an uncompressed format that retains the best image quality. It is also a very old format. Tiff has been long regarded as an image used for print purposes. File size is also according to pixel resolution. The next image format is PNG. It has been used widely because it retains good quality, and its compressed format has really small file size, so it's really useful. PNG also allows you to save uncompressed formats, so you can switch between the two. The last format is DDS. It is a compressed format that allows a lot of flexibility. Of course, DDS allows users to save uncompressed formats, but because DDS allows additional information such as map information to be saved into the image, so it is a really useful format. The plugin is free and can be downloaded from NVIDIA developers sites. So let's move on and open up Maya again. Okay, and we will take a quick look at how we can apply textures on our materials or on our objects. So let's open up Hypershade. I'm just going to clear my graph. Alright, and before I forget, one quick way to look at the final render of our objects is to click on this little icon here, render the current frame. Alright, this will show you what our objects look like in their final outputs. Also, this will allow you to have a glimpse of the preview of how your shaders are affecting your objects. Okay, so let's go to Hypershade. I am going perhaps go to my Limpid sphere. Now if you see a checker box right beside color, it means that it allows you to input additional information on color. So let's click on this checker box beside the color. Alright, it will bring out a create render node window, and most of the time we're going to use 2D textures. First of all, we're going to use file. File allows us to use formats such as JPEGs, Tugger, TIFF, or any of the formats that Maya recognizes. So let's click on file. Alright, so once we click on file, we're going to see 2 additional things added to our work area. This is called nodes. This is a file node, and this is my place 2D texture node. These are associated with my Limpid sphere after I have click on file. So to make it easier for us where these nodes are linked to, we can right click on my Limpid and go to graph network. Okay, so right now my Limpid shader is in my work area, and you can see these links. Alright, this is basically telling you what are the things that it is linking. So if I mouse over my green color arrow, it's going to say file 1 out color to my Limpid sphere color. Okay, basically it's to say the color of this file is transferred to my shader. So going into the attribute editor of my file, I'm going to open up my image. I'm just gonna select any image here. Okay, looks okay. And let me go into my viewports to take a look what it looks like. So in my viewports, this is gonna show up as gray, simply because we have not enabled the texture display in our viewport. So hit number 6 to enable the display. Okay, so I have a nice looking texture on my sphere. Let me do the same on my other shaders, like my phone. Okay, in color, click on the checker box. Okay, select 2D textures, go to file, image name, open a image. So let me open a Rust, perhaps. Okay, and I am gonna go to my Blend. Alright, double click. Again, go to its color, checker box icon, file. Alright, 2D textures, file, open up, and let's use galvanized plates. Okay, so let's take a quick look in our viewport again. So I have 3 very nice textures in my viewport, and let's do a quick render. Alright, so this is how you would create basic shaders on and apply it onto your geometries. Also to link up an external texture, such as the metal textures that I have assigned. So at this current stage, this is where we will stop. So in conclusion, we have learned a little bit on shaders, on its uniqueness on the different types of shaders, as well as to apply external files as complex textures on our geometries. I will, like I have mentioned before, I will create additional video on UVs. Thank you for watching. Bye.